Alright, I've just grabbed myself DeWalt's brand new framing nail gun. This thing's been out for a couple of months and I just picked it up for $779. That's skin only, no battery included, so it does have a bit of a price tag to it, but I'm really excited to see how it goes. Now, I used to use DeWalt's older framing nailer. It was the first battery-powered framing nail gun I had, and I loved it when it came out, but after using it for a bit of time, I realized it had a few major problems. The biggest one being the rafter hook. I actually broke one of their guns because it was on my tool belt. I started walking up a ladder, and because the rafter hook was so bad, the gun fell off and it completely broke. There was a few other issues I had with it too, but I'm going to open this up now. We've got a few hours left at work today, so I'm going to put it to use, have a first look of it in action, and let's see if this is any good. Alright, first impression of the gun is that she's pretty heavy. I almost want to say it feels like it weighs more than that first model. If we exclude the weight though, it looks like a pretty good gun. First of all, that's already a huge improvement in the rafter hook. The old one used to just come down on like an angle, on a 45 angle, so it didn't properly hook into your belt. And we do also have, I'm going to chuck this on, but I'm guessing we can put this on. Actually, I don't know where this is meant to go. Oh, there we go. We got the belt hook that sits up there. So that hook actually works so well. I could just slide it down into the tool belt like that. And it's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. Like, I'm going to lean over to reach that handle to pick it up. But for most nail guns, you're going to hook them on like that, which is a lot easier to grab it off the tool belt. But the only downside is when you're walking and swinging it around, those teeth can scrape against your legs, which happens way too often, and it bloody kills when that happens. So I'm actually a huge fan of that. You can hook the gun down like that, but you also do have this hook here. If you want to hook it like that, you've got the option to go either way. And the other thing I really want to look at are these teeth at the end of the gun. And that doesn't look too good, to be honest. I'm not a fan of that. We can see we've got that front tooth that sticks out the furthest. And when you use a gun, you're probably gonna have to push that tooth in to shoot it. Meaning if you're trying to skew in an angle like that, you're not pushing that front tooth down, and there's a chance that it might not fire when you've got the gun in that angle. And that's something I've had quite a few issues with when I use some other branded nail guns. Especially doing posies, when you got to get your gun in that angle to shoot them, I can see this becoming an issue. To be honest though, the biggest concern I had in the old model was the rafter hook, and they've gone through and fixed that, so I'm keen to see what else they've fixed and what else they've improved when we start using it. I've got a battery on charge behind me, so we'll charge that up, then we'll chuck it in the gun. And all we're doing today is standing some prefab walls. We've got this whole pack here that we want to try get stood, so we'll start using the gun in a second, shooting the walls together, and it's going to give us a really good trial on how the gun skews and some awkward angles as well. Alright, so we've got a fully charged battery. I'm going to try her out for the first time. One thing I actually did notice though is I've already changed my mind about that hook, because you chuck it onto the tool belt. I thought it was going to be good, but it's almost actually worse. Like, that tooth of the gun is right up against my leg, and I feel like, yeah, when you walk like that, that's just going to swing and cut into the leg. I thought it was a pretty cool design to start with. Like, it might work if you have it on the opposite side of your body, but yeah, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that rafter hook, of that belt hook. Anyway though, we'll try the gun out. It sounds pretty weird, so I've got it on bump fire right now. When you press the trigger once, the gun just charges up. It's got a big fan in here which spins around, and that spins around, and when you go to shoot, that pushes the nail forward. So let's see how quick it can shoot. We've got a double LVL stud now, and I'm just going to go flat out on bump fire and see what this gun's got. So to be honest, that's not too bad. They've punched in really well. I've previously been using Hikoki's framer though, and I went at the same speed that I used Hikoki's gun at, and that's when I shot that first nail there that didn't actually go in. You do need to wait and slow down a bit with this gun for that fan to charge up and hit every single time. So it's not as fast as any other gun out there. I'm just going to try it again, but this time I'm going to go as quick as I can and see what happens. Yeah, you can see then if I'm trying to push it too quick, it's just not shooting. So it is a bit slower than Hikoki's. And the other thing about it, which is kind of hard to see, but since that fan is spinning around, once it's charged up, it actually starts pulling on your arm. So when you're like charging it up, you can feel the gun pulling on you, and it's actually a little bit of a workout to try to keep it straight. And then on top of that, it does have a lot of weight. So I can imagine this being a bit of an awkward gun to work with. We are doing prefabs today, but I can imagine framing walls. It's pretty big and bulky. It's gonna be hard to hold down like that. And it is annoying that you can't just do the double nail when framing walls, because you do need to wait that 1 second before shots, or between shots. So first up, it's nothing overly special so far. What we will do though is start standing up a few other walls, and I'll test out what the teeth are like when it comes to skewing nails. To be honest, that was pretty good using it then. When you press it trigger, the fan starts to go and the gun's like charged up, so it does shoot instantaneously for that first nail. And the second thing is I did have to get a few nails skewing the gun in that direction. And that's where I was worried that those bottom teeth wouldn't grab, but the gun shot really well, skewing it in that angle. And that was one of the main tests I want to put it to. See it like that there? Goes in. Shoots really well.
That's nice, yeah.
It's kind of scary. Like I go to skew a nail,
Yeah.
and then you put your finger down on the trigger, and that fan spins, and it kind of pulls the gun away from where you had it. Yeah, like pulls it up a bit. Alright, so I spent a bit of time looking up a few specs on this gun, and what I found out has actually surprised me. And first of all, I went on the City Tools website, and they've got this gun listed at 3.9 kilos, which I'm guessing is without the battery. I've actually gone through and checked out a few different websites, and depending on where you're buying the gun, some websites actually have the gun listed at slightly different weights. Sydney Tools though say that this one's 3.9 and that the older model is actually 4.1 kilos, which I was a bit confused about because using this gun, I was adamant that this is heavier than the older model. I was pretty sure the older model was lighter, and then I found out that they were advertising this at 3.9 without the battery, but the older model is 4.1 when you include the battery with the gun. Even though the batteries are pretty light and it doesn't sound like a big difference, I remember using the older gun and I was impressed with how light it was. Obviously it wasn't anywhere near as good as a Pasload when it came to skewing nails or getting that power, but it was just a nice lightweight gun that I could use, and it was perfect for shooting down sheet flooring or doing any like repetitive job like that. Straight away, even talking to the camera right now, this thing has a ton of weight to it. So that's why I was so surprised looking online and looking at the weights, and it seems pretty dodgy the way they have put those weights out. Look, I want to put a disclaimer in case I am wrong with something here, but Sydney Tools do have the older gun at 4.1 kilos, but I found on different websites that it actually is 3.6, and they're including the weight of the battery. And when I was looking online, this is a different website where I read this, but I read that this gun can shoot 2 nails a second, yet the older one could apparently shoot between 2 to 3 a second. And I don't know how much I trust that. I still have a coworker that is using one of the older models of these guns, so I might try to grab that off him, and I want to do a speed comparison between the two guns. And look, so far, I'm not talking too highly of this newer model, but I can confidently say that it does have more punch with the nails. It's got a lot more power to it. I do like how you can skew with it. There's just a lot of negatives about it as well. I'm not done testing it yet though. What we're gonna do is pull up the site tomorrow, and I've actually got a brand new battery in the study. I'm gonna charge that one up, and we're gonna put a brand new battery in this gun and do a test that I've done a few times where we're gonna test how many nails it can shoot with one fully charged battery. For the test, we are just gonna be using another one of these 5 amp hour batteries. And all I'm doing to count them is counting how many racks I reload into the gun. So 1 rack is 40 nails, and we'll just keep using it all day tomorrow to see how many nails we go through. Now, there are a lot of variables that would go into a test like this. The biggest one being the flywheel that actually powers the gun. So when that's spinning and I'm shooting continuously, I reckon I can get a lot more nails out for less charge on the battery. Opposed to if I'm just doing a single nail here or there, it's gonna take a lot more power to actually get that fan wheel, that flywheel spinning, and to get those nails out. So we're not really looking too deeply into this test. It's more of a fun one to see how well the batteries do. So even though that test isn't super accurate, it does give us a good indication on how well the gun performs with the battery. And the other thing it does is makes us use it for a full game. So it's got the bump fire going on. One thing I'm actually struggling with is aiming those 2 nails. So normally when you shoot 2 nails, you do the snake bites. You shoot one there and then go wide and shoot the other one. This gun's got a fair bit of recoil. So when I shoot that first nail, the gun's getting pushed a fair bit up in the air. And then what we have happening as well is that flywheel is spinning around, which is pulling my arm in a different direction, meaning that when I go down for that second nail, I'm not shooting it exactly where I'm aiming. And it's not the biggest issue until it comes to framing walls. If I'm framing walls and that same thing happens, you've got that recoil and that gun's starting to move in a different direction, that could be where you hit the side of the timber and potentially skew a nail into your finger. Alright, so we're up to a new rack, and so far today we have gone through 520 nails, which is a fair few because it is a prefab, but I've been using this gun for everything, especially doing all the top plates, doing a few missing dogs and bits and pieces like that. What I do want to do though is go through the entire rack. We've just got 2 9045 pine studs here, so we've got no resistance at all. It should get through it pretty easily, but for this test we do want to see how quickly the gun can fire. We've got 40 nails right now, and let's just see how long it takes to shoot all 40. Might set that up right there, and we're just going to go through this way. No way, the gun honestly just died after putting that rack in. Honestly, about 10 seconds ago, we had a few more nails left in the magazine. I just shot them into a few studs so we could put the new magazine in for this test. And the gun has officially died at 520. And 520 is pretty low compared to other brands. I've done this test on, I think, Milwaukee, AEG and Hikoki, and from memory all of them get to at least the 600s, some even the 700s, closer to 780, 790. I'm sure if we take that battery off and put it back on, no, we've got nothing. I can't believe that. At the end of the day, the gun has died on us. Alright, I guess I'm not going to do that test now because I didn't bring a second battery with me today. I didn't think we'd get through this one in one day, but that is kind of poor for how many nails we got out of the gun. We're back today. We've got some charge in the battery, and we're just gonna do that same test. I'm gonna sit it there, full rack of nails, and let's see how quick it takes to shoot every single one of them. Look, I don't think there's any point going through the rack. I can't go as quick as I want to go. There is that delay between the flywheel that you got to wait for. So what I was doing at the end there, that's as quick as you can go. So we do the math, I'll work it out on screen. But that is how many nails this gun can technically shoot per second.